I'd like to call to order the North Carolina Wildlife Resources meeting for October 26, 2023. This meeting is being streamed live and recorded as a public record. A recording of the minutes. This meeting will be available at www.ncwildlife.org. As a courtesy to others, please turn off all cell phones during the meeting. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner David Hoyle to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Wes Seegers to provide our invocation.
All bow our heads, please. Oh Lord, as we gather here today, we give thanks for the opportunity to serve and for the hope and promise of each new day. We ask that you bless the men and women of this agency and the efforts they put forth each day on behalf of all of us, the sportsmen, men and women, and all those who enjoy the state's wild places. Guide us as they work to enhance our wildlife resources and the habitats that you have so graciously provided to us all. We ask that you guide our deliberations and decisions here today, and that they may be pleasing in your sight, for we understand the responsibilities we have in being good stewards to all that you have provided. We thank you for these blessings that you've bestowed upon us individually and for our families and friends. Keep us mindful of those that are less fortunate and grant us the compassion and understanding to always offer assistance and a helping hand. And finally, we ask that you bless and keep safe the men and women of our armed services who sacrifice so much that we may be here today so freely offering this prayer in your name. Amen.
And at this time, I recognize Margot Minkler to conduct a roll call of commissioners present.
Good morning. Going to do a roll call for our October 26, 2023 commission meeting. Monty Crump.
Here.
Mark Craig.
Here.
David Hoyle.
Here.
John Coley.
Here.
Wes Seegers.
Here.
Tommy Fumble.
Here.
Tom Berry.
Here.
Brad Stanback.
Here.
Jim Ruffin.
Here.
Ray Clifton. Kelly Davis. Here. Steve Wyndham. Landon Zimmer.
Here.
John Stone. Hayden Rogers. John Alexander. Tom Hayslip.
Here.
J.C. Cole. Mike Alford. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I will note I got a text from Commissioner Alexander. He's en route, but he got tied up in traffic.
Yes, sir.
North Carolina General Statute 130A-15 mandates that the commission chair shall remind all commissioners of their duty to avoid conflicts of interest and appearances of a conflict under this chapter. And that the chair also inquires as to whether there is any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the commission at this time. It is the duty of each commissioner who is aware of such personal conflict of interest or an appearance of conflict to notify the chair of the same. I will ask for a recusal on the land and water access exhibit today. It's Exhibit C in reference to Henson Lake Lodge. I do have a direct conflict there, so I beg off for recusal at that point. And at this time, I would ask for any other recusals from the commissioners. Hearing none, we'll move forward. You have previously been distributed minutes of the August 24th, 2023 commission meetings. It's Exhibit A in your packet. Are there any additions, corrections, or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. The minutes from the August 24th meeting be approved as presented.
Second.
Got that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. At this time, I will call on Jason Cottle to do a financial status report. Get the invitation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we do each month, we'll do a quick overview here of the expenditures and receipts and expenditures in both our general fund and capital improvement fund categories. And this data is as of 30th of September 2023. In our general fund or operating fund, we saw total revenues to date $35,537,960.43. Total expenditures in the same of $212,046.44 to leave us with a fund balance of $24,718,042.48. In our capital projects fund, we saw total revenues to date of $1,140,308.08. Total expenditures in the same of $2,726,578.71 to leave us with a fund balance of September 30 as of $1,695,565.18. Moving on to the agency's endowment fund. As of September 30, 2023, we had a balance in total of $161,627,615.07. As we discussed yesterday, our current asset allocation within the endowment fund, 79% held in equities, about 16% in bonds, and 5% at the moment in our short-term investment fund. To draw attention to one fact, here at the bottom of this page, you would typically see a graphic displaying the amount of expendable versus non-expendable income earned. As we've shifted over to NC Go Outdoors, we've had some challenges, not necessarily capturing, but being able to display the data around the individual categories for the infant, youth, and adult lifetime licenses sold. We're continuing to work with our partners at Brandt to better categorize that data and hope to have that issue resolved by the time we meet in December. Are there any questions?
Jason, yesterday when you did your presentation, we had a discussion on transferring $3 million a month from the bond index fund to the equity index fund through October 2024.
Yes, sir.
I think it'd be appropriate time now if we entertain a motion to follow up on that action from the committee yesterday.
So moved.
A motion, have a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. And again, I'll note that one more time. That's to transfer $3 million per month from the bond index fund to the equity index fund through 2024 in concert with the guidance of the commission on management of the endowment fund for the wildlife resources. Are there any further comments or questions? Making that motion? Yes, Brad.
I would just like to voice one concern. I think everyone knows I've been a strong proponent of moving as much as possible into equities and out of the bond fund. In the past, we haven't had upcoming major expenditures like we are going to have with Receptor and Samarkand. I wasn't concerned about a market downturn temporarily lowering our full portfolio value, but I'd be more comfortable having more in the short-term fund to cover some of these upcoming expenses. I don't think it's an immediate concern. We could maybe look at it again in December when I guess my main concern is a downturn that erased enough to eliminate our expendable income. We wouldn't actually have the funds we would need to meet these financial commitments we have. So I'm okay agreeing to what we're proposing today, but I'd like to revisit this in December, see about maybe setting aside a little more of the short-term fund to have more confidence that we can meet their obligations despite not market downturn.
That's a very good point. It's a legitimate point. It's something we've had discussions with Vice Chairman with also, and we are evaluating the cash flow at what point they occur, and whatever you feel comfortable with a possible downturn in management, we will have that in December for the finance committee. Are there any further comments or concerns? Thank you for that, Commissioner Stanback. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any further questions, Jason, on the finance report? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
This time I'll recognize Executive Director Cam Ingram for a special presentation of the Thomas L. Quay Wildlife Diversity Awards.
Good morning, everyone. It's again my pleasure to stand before you today to recognize outstanding performance and leadership and dedication to conserving wildlife resources of the state. This is a really special day for us. This is one of the Wildlife Commission's most prestigious awards, the Thomas L. Quay Wildlife Diversity Award. This award is presented every year to someone who has made outstanding contributions to wildlife diversity in North Carolina and considered a leader in wildlife conservation. David, if you'll come up. Today, we are honoring the 18th Thomas L. Quay Wildlife Diversity Award recipient, Mr. David H. Allen. Thank you. There he is. David is well known by the conservation community for his passion and tireless work for red cockaded woodpecker, as well as his broader conservation and restoration restoration efforts throughout the North Carolina coast. In attendance with David is many folks. I'll highlight Janice, his wife, is here on the front row. Cora, his daughter, is there beside Janice, and Susan, his sister, is here. And also many colleagues currently working for the commission and retired. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this special day with us. What I plan to do is read the resolution that will pass and present David with a wooden Quay plaque and an illustration photo of David installing an artificial red cockaded woodpecker cavity taken by his co-worker at the time, David Turner, on the Chowan Swamp Game Lands in January of 2016. But this time I'll go through the resolution. This is a resolution of North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission honoring David H. Allen. Whereas David H. Allen is a resident of North Carolina and a distinguished, respected wildlife biologist. Whereas David has worked diligently to promote and foster a collaborative approach to the conservation of wildlife and wildlife habitat in the state of North Carolina and the southeastern United States. Whereas David has shown commitment and leadership towards the conservation of North Carolina's non-game wildlife species and habitats. Whereas David introduced and supported innovative approaches to restore the red cockaded woodpecker population in North Carolina, including the Safe Harbor program for private landowners and the Recovery and Sustainment Program agreement with the U.S. military for WRC game lands. Whereas David fostered and perpetuated efforts to protect and maintain water bird habitat through acquisition, creation, and restoration of water bird islands on the North Carolina coast that included Gull, Parnell, Wells, and Coral June Islands that provided nesting habitat to more than 30 species of water birds in the state. Whereas David and his kind and steady demeanor were instrumental in engaging and reassuring landowners about many listed species issues that resulted in permanent land conservation benefiting wildlife. Whereas David served as an expert advisor to the Bald Eagle Recovery Team, the Cape Hatteras National Seashore Negotiated Rulemaking Committee, the North Carolina Waterbird Management Committee, the North Carolina Wildlife Action Plan Technical Committee, and the North Carolina Scientific Council on Birds. Whereas David has been recognized by several North Carolina constituents groups for his commitment to wildlife conservation by receiving the Government Partner of the Year Award from the Conservation Trust of North Carolina, the North Carolina Longleaf Honor Award, and the Honorary Warden Award from the Audubon, North Carolina. And whereas before and since his retirement, David has dedicated his time to red cockaded woodpecker surveys on game lands, water bird surveys on wildlife conservation areas, and the North Carolina Bird Atlas, for which he has contributed 183 species observations, 626 checklists, and 64 priority blocks, and 581 breeding confirmations, and most recently received the 2023 Most Valuable Atlaser Award. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission does hereby pay tribute to David H. Allen for his outstanding contributions to the wildlife resources of North Carolina through his past and continued commitment to the conservation of the state's wildlife diversity. And be it further resolved that the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission expresses its profound gratitude to the David H. Allen and presents him with the Thomas L. Quay Wildlife Diversity Award for his exemplary leadership in the enhancement and conservation of North Carolina's non-game wildlife resources. David, thank you for all your dedication to the state's natural resources and this agency. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a very large surprise. I had no idea
anything about this award. The people that have received this award in the past are idols of mine. So to be in the company with them is just amazing. Thank you so much again. Like I say, it was quite a surprise, and I feel very honored. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to break and get a couple photos with David.
We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Okay.
At this time, we'll move to committee reports. And I will recognize Chairman Tom Hayslip of the Education and Communication Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Education and Communication Committee met on Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. Staff presented an update on the newly formed Operations and Program Development Team of the Wildlife Education Division. The team provides broad-scale statewide program planning and development for the Wildlife Education Division toward the agent's relevancy and R3 efforts. This team has several exciting projects to build and strengthen partnerships to better engage with the influence people through the commission's programs and opportunities. Committee also received a presentation on the agency's partnership with agricultural education and FFA. Wildlife Education Team leads the annual effort of wildlife camp at the FFA camp facility at White Lake with Ducks Unlimited, the National Wildlife Turkey Federation, North Carolina Forest Service, NC State Parks, and the North Carolina Wildlife Upland Federation, as well as the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This event, students receive hands-on experience with fish sampling with a biologist on a shocking boat, trapping with USDA, boater safety with enforcement, and other wildlife-related activities to inspire them towards careers in conservation. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments or questions regarding the Education Communication Committee report? Hear none. At this time, I recognize Migratory Birds and Waterfowl Committee Chairman John Cody for your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Migratory Birds and Waterfowl Committee met yesterday and welcomed partners from Ducks Unlimited, Deanne Druliad, Manager of Eastern Region Partnerships for DU Canada, and Emily Purcell, Director of Conservation Programs for the Southeastern United States. Deanne provided an overview of the Fall Flights Program. The Commission has contributed almost $2 million to this program since 1969 to secure, restore, and maintain wetland habitat, mostly in Canada's maritime provinces, which support a great number of nesting, green-winged teal, and other dabbling ducks. Deanne also extended an invitation for the Commission to come back to Canada to see some of the great work that we have been funding. Emily then provided an update on the Eastern Mallard study supported by DU and with partnering states, including North Carolina. More than 1,100 GPS transmitters will be deployed on hen mallards to study reproductive parameters, seasonal survival, movement, ecology, and habitat use. Doug Howell, Migratory Game Bird Coordinator, provided a summary of a 2023 tundra swan mortality event caused by lead exposure in a 500-acre impoundment on Lake Mattamuskeet National Wildlife Refuge. Doug and other Wildlife Resources Commission staff are coordinating with the refuge and others to complete a soil survey to determine the lead concentrations and the distribution within the impoundment. Staff are also working with the service to have a contractor remove common carp from Lake Mattamuskeet and experimentally treat the lake to remove cyanobacteria. Both the carp and cyanobacteria impact submerged aquatic vegetation, which is an important food source for waterfowl and other species. And with that, that concludes the Migratory Birds and Waterfowl Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments related to Migratory Birds Waterfowl Committee report? Hear none, I'll move forward. And at this time, recognize Small Game and Wild Committee Turkey Chairman Jim Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Small Game and Wild Turkey Committee had an excellent meeting, with a very informative agenda focused primarily on wild turkey. Dr. Chris Moorman of NC State University presented on the results of the wild turkey ecology study funded by the commission and conducted by NC State. The study spanned 3 years and will continue to provide us with extremely valuable information about wild turkey population in North Carolina, insights into managing our turkey population. This information will continue to contribute to conversations and decisions on wild turkey management, including harvest, for years to come. The committee also recognized the attendance of both the National Wild Turkey Federation State Chapter President Jim Drawn and National President Brian Terry. The NTF provided more than $100,000 towards this study and their contributions and dedication to the wild turkey resource. And of course, this study in North Carolina is greatly appreciated. Finally, Darren Barnes, the LAWA chief, gave a brief update on ongoing efforts of LAWA staff and the Caswell small game focus area. Our continued efforts to improve the small game habitat in this area will benefit the species involved and our conservation constituents. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for the chairman on small game wild turkey? Hearing none, at this time I'll recognize Tommy Vaughn, provide the Fisheries Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fisheries Committee met yesterday afternoon at 12:45. Before proceeding with the scheduled agenda, Chairman Stone recognized special guest Representative Jay Adams, co-chair of the House Wildlife Committee. Representative Adams briefly addressed the commission prior to returning to the legislature. Corey Oakley began the agenda with a presentation of a video that highlighted the efforts of commission staff to restore muskie back to the French Broad River through stocking and habitat restoration. The video was followed by Scott Loftus, Aquatic Habitat Research Coordinator, providing an update on fish usage of the restored habitat sloughs at Mud Creek on the French Broad River. Christian Waters gave updates on the 2024 Roanoke River striped bass harvest season, the 2023 recreational flounder seasons, the recent DMF proclamation to close the striped and white mullet fishery, striped bass and white mullet fisheries in joint and coastal fishing waters to the end of the year. Recent findings of zebra mussels and apple snails, both of which are aquatic nuisance species, recently found in North Carolina for the first time, and the Setzer hatchery renovation efforts, including staff efforts to minimize the eventual impacts of the hatchery being shut down for construction in late 2024. As you can tell, Christian was busy yesterday. Next, Corey Oakley presented a video that highlights the commission's F1 bass stocking project at Lake Norman, Lake Gaston, and Jordan Lake, and the commission's partnership with bass anglers from North Carolina lakes to help raise annual funding for the stocking project. Chuck Murray, president of NC Bass and co-founder of Bass Anglers for North Carolina Lakes, presented the commission with a check for $30,000. That completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Bobble. Are there any comments or questions on the Fisheries Committee report? Hearing none, at this time I'll recognize Chairman David Hoyle of the Big Game Committee for your report, sir.
Big Game Committee met yesterday afternoon. The meeting began with an update on chronic wasting disease by the State Wildlife Management Division Assistant Chief Chris Cray. Chris confirmed that we have a new CWD positive in the 2023 hunting season, which is the first positive in Johnston County. Staff are already working hard to obtain and submit samples this hunting season. We will see if there are additional positives as we get results from those samples. Next, Catherine with a C, the Rose, and Catherine with a K, Jewel, gave very interesting and informative presentations on social science studies related to hunters' knowledge, opinions, understanding of chronic waste disease. The information gleaned from these studies will be beneficial to our approach to CWD and deer management. Finally, Justin McVeigh, our agency elk biologist, presented the results of the elk study conducted by the University of Tennessee. This was very informative presentation and subsequently discussion about the elk herd and the future elk management options, including hunting. The chair recommended that the committee use this information to continue discussions on how and when an elk hunt in North Carolina might be conducted. Having no further business, the meeting was adjourned.
Are there any comments or questions on the Big Game Committee report? Here none, I present a committee report for Committee of the Whole. Committee of the Whole met yesterday afternoon with a packed agenda. We began with proposed annual cycle rulemaking, the notice of text from Christian Waters, Darren Barnes, Chris Cray, and Colonel Meyer. Melva Bonner and Betsy Haywood both presented rules for adoption and for notice of text. Ben Solomon presented a proposal for lease renewal of the Henson Lake Lodge at Henson Lake. Terry Ruhlman and Jason Cottle then presented potential changes to license fees to keep up with CPIU and inflation. Jason then presented a recommendation to transfer $3 million per month from the bond index fund to the equity index fund through October 24th, which we have already acted on prior today in the business meeting. Executive Director Ingram presented the proposed 2024 commission meeting schedule and then recognized staff who have just received prestigious awards. Sergeant Dustin Durham and Master Officer Charles Vaughn were awarded the 2023 Governor's Award for Excellence for Safety and Heroism. Travis Wilson was named the 2023 Governor's Conservation Achievement Award Natural Resources Scientist of the Year. Master Officer Ryan Biggerstaff was named the 2023 Governor's Conservation Achievement Award Wildlife Officer of the Year. And Doug Beasler was named the 2023 Southeastern Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies Fisheries Biologist of the Year. And we congratulate all of those folks. All of our staff we consider to be cream of the crop for the job that they do, but to get these kind of recognitions from our staff, from agencies, not only in North Carolina, but in the Southeast, is a true testament to the quality of staff that we have working for our Wildlife Resources Commission. Every one of you, and we're grateful for every one of you, and especially thank you for those that have been recognized here yesterday and today. Finally, the committee went into closed session to discuss ongoing litigation with our attorney. The committee returned from closed session, and there being no further business, the meeting was adjourned. Can't believe I got all those awards right. We did. That was pretty powerful. At this time, we have an agency spotlight on our committee business meeting. Every meeting, we look forward to this. This month's meeting's agency spotlight is connecting through communications, marketing, and digital engagement. And I'll recognize Fairleigh Malum, our communications director, for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, commissioners and staff. I'm really excited to be here today to showcase a lot of the work that stems from the agency's Office of Communications, Marketing, and Digital Engagement. We have a stellar, talented team of 14 individuals and 15 with myself. And I just kind of wanted to give an overview of the type of work that we do and highlight some of our successes. So to go to where we are today, we kind of have to go back to where we started. In 1947, the communication channels were limited. You know, you had TV, radio, print, including newspaper and magazine, and you compare that to today's diversified and segmented media landscape. You really have so many different ways to communicate with the public. And we really have to utilize a variety of tools and methods to reach our target audiences. So our approach, last November, our office began meeting with all agency offices and divisions to determine what their priorities and initiatives were for the upcoming year. Given we support the work of the entire agency, understanding the division and office priorities helps us prioritize our support requests while being mindful of our time so that we're equitable in our support for all offices and divisions. In addition to the larger projects that are identified in that annual meeting, we also provide support to staff on a daily basis. We have this online form that you see here where any staff member can submit a request for support. And to date, we've conducted or completed more than 250 requests, and we geared that up in the month of April. We plan to continue this process of meeting on an annual basis. And at the end of year, we will conduct a review to highlight the work that's been done for those specific initiatives and highlight the successes. So what's our process? Well, whether we're gearing up for a larger initiative or we're responding to a staff support for request, we take steps to determine the best ways to provide support. Anytime we receive a request, it really just triggers a process that determines who is the target audience, who are those that are directly affected by the topic or have the highest stakes in the outcome. We then develop key messages and devise the best content strategy, and then create content based on that decision. We then determine if there's money allotted to perform paid promotion and select the most suitable distribution channels that I'll cover in the next slide to relay the information based on the messaging and target audiences. And lastly, we monitor and we evaluate the outcome and impact of our outreach to learn from the successes and to adapt future outreach based on any lessons learned. We really have a focus on doing everything data driven within our group. So we have a wide sorry about that. We have a wide array of tools available to us. Mass media obviously includes newspaper, magazines, TV, the radio, and the internet. Pay-per-click programs include examples like Google paid AdWords, Google paid ads and AdWords. The Go Outdoors mobile app, that's the latest communication and marketing tool to be added to our toolbox. And we often collaborate with stakeholders to get our messages out to their specific audiences. Our monthly e-newsletter is one of our best and most effective communication tools with over 1.5 million subscribers. We send monthly e-newsletters and also send special edition newsletters customized for dove, duck, turkey, bear, and deer seasons, trout fishing, and boating and fishing. I'm going to get a little technical here and discuss some metrics tied to emails and email open rates. There's something called a click-through rate, which is basically defined as the percentage of email subscribers who click on at least one link in an email out of the total number of emails we deliver. And that exceeds the government industry average of 29% at 36%. And all of those special edition e-news that I mentioned, they're at 48%. So we're really well above the industry average. And that tells us that our content appeals to customers and shows that the more we can customize the content we provide to a person's interests, then the better the engagement we'll have. Within the past month, we've rolled out several crisis communication plans for zebra mussels, for apple snails, and for the latest CWD positive in Johnston County. We've also recently collaborated internally to devise an alligator incident response plan, much like the bear attack response plan that we have. We basically want to be prepared in light of recent increases of human alligator conflict in South Carolina. We thought it would be smart to go ahead and have that plan prepared and available. And we regularly conduct crisis management as it relates to black bears and human interactions, and have crisis communication plans developed for a variety of scenarios, and we employ those regularly. Transitioning to marketing now. We're in the middle of running a paid ad campaign on social media to encourage hunters to get their deer tested. We're also promoting the new Go Outdoors mobile apps reporting feature for big game harvests. We were awarded an APHIS grant of $35,000, and we used that money to purchase video equipment, and we developed in-house videos that showcase the 3 different ways that you can submit a sample for testing. One focusing on staff check stations and how those work, another focusing on freezer donations, and then the third option that we have available. We've been having great success with this campaign. We've also added information to Go Outdoors North Carolina transactional emails, so that when you receive a receipt or any other communication from Go Outdoors, there's information tied to CWD and sample submission. Wanted to showcase a marketing campaign that we've been conducting for the past 2 years to increase the number of applicants for the Law Enforcement Academy. This included asset development and consolidation of messaging. These assets and messages that we developed were essential to using social media and email to conduct the marketing campaigns. Even with a decrease in the advertising budget from last year to this year, the campaign generated impressive results. We've now transitioned to a new recruitment model where we focus on generating long-term, year-round interest in enforcement careers. On a related note, our office recently completed a recruitment video for human resources that they use at career fairs. And we've posted that video to our webpage about careers at the agency. And we've also shared that on our YouTube channel. Transitioning from recruitment into the agency's presence on LinkedIn, which is a social media platform for professional development and networking. We've had great success showcasing open positions, staff accomplishments and awards, and other career-related information. The organic growth of our following on this platform without putting any money behind it to increase the following has been phenomenal, as this data shows. Nextdoor. This is by far the best platform that we use to communicate directly with the citizens of North Carolina, with over 2.8 million residents registered on this app. We're able to share information statewide at a macro level, all the way down to targeting a specific radius around an address at the micro level. We've used this platform for a variety of things and have had great engagement with the public, including broadcasting information about prescribed burns to the neighborhoods surrounding the burn area. It's also been a great platform to showcase habitat information, such as that blog to the right, which is a little hard to see, which was called What Stinks? Bradford Pears. And we discussed the Bradford pear tree bounty, and really you could see through the comments and engagement that folks had not heard about that, and it was just a great resource to share. Additionally, we've been able to share urgent information when there's been bold bear activity. In fact, this particular post was pushed out in conjunction with biologists going door to door, boots on the ground in a neighborhood where there was substantial bold bear activity. On to Facebook. A successful Facebook page engages with followers and generates conversation regarding the information that's shared. Over the last year, we've been working hard to change the narrative on our Facebook page, utilizing humor to engage with our followers and at the same time educate them. The examples I've shared here at a really high level have tremendous engagement, and you can see the type of humorous approach that we take. This often capitalizes on current trending topics and memes. As a result of this, our following has grown tremendously, and our posts are regularly reshared by other government agencies and organizations to their Facebook audiences, and that has gained us more followers because they're exposed to our content from those posts being shared. And on that note, I did want to mention one of our specific Facebook posts that garnered so much attention that the News and Observer actually ran a story about the post. It was a trending topic at the time that it was posted about a Netflix series called Outer Banks, where one of the main characters takes a ferry from the Outer Banks to Chapel Hill. And we were able to actually get a couple of additional posts out of that specific rabbit. And it actually did generate a lot of conversation within the comments about eastern rabbits. So the agency's YouTube channel, it continues to grow as we publish content weekly. We're nearing 10 million views and have amassed over 255,000 viewing hours. Our YouTube ad revenue will continue to grow as we add more content, and we've made it a goal to reach 100,000 subscribers, and then we would receive a YouTube silver play button plaque, one of 3 plaques available that are reserved for top performing channels. We began the use of QR codes here, quick response codes at the agency, and you'll see each of these examples showcases it's sort of the grainy looking image, and the resource that we use allows us to produce them in just about any shape. So you'll see here on the bald biologist decal, we have a fish shaped QR code, and then we've got a diamond on the trout. There's really a lot of flexibility with those QR codes. We add them to all of our campaigns and all of our collateral. They really give the program's legs to extend the reach of the campaign. They enable us, no matter the size of the campaign, to track key metrics like total scans per day, the location of the person's, the location of the scan, and then the type of device used to scan the code. And these insights are really help us measure the effectiveness of the QR code campaigns. Another new tool I wanted to highlight is Flipping Book. This is basically a cloud-based application that we use to showcase what historically would have been posted as Adobe PDFs on our website. PDF files are not indexed by Google, so the content within all of the PDFs on our site, it doesn't get indexed by search engines, and you can't find it. So we found this solution, Flipping Book, and search engines are able to crawl through the content when posted in Flipping Book. And so things that were not easily searchable are now easy to find. You'll also notice that Flipping Book has a major added benefit of dressing up the look and the visual and the navigation of the content. And we also, with Flipping Book, get a lot of data. We're able to find out how many people view the content, how long they stay on specific pages, what they search for within the document, and how many folks go from the document to the call to action button in the upper right-hand corner called Buy a License. We're able to track all those click-throughs. And with that, I wanted to directly explain how those recent software acquisitions have enhanced the magazine. You'll see here the cover of the November-December edition, and to the right, that is the Flipping Book. We are now distributing the digital edition of the magazine through Flipping Book, and we've incorporated the use of QR codes in the articles where appropriate, so that we can give the information in the printed version of the magazine legs beyond the page. 2024, we are taking advantage of a server cost savings program. Our agency is going to be transferring our website under the state of North Carolina's DIT hosting. So what does that mean? Well, we're transitioning the software system tied to how you manage the website. And as a result, we're going to undergo a massive redesign and content overhaul. And I think it's important to note that our primary focus is going to be mobile optimization. 80% of our web traffic is by mobile device. And of those 80%, 80% is on an Apple device. So it really shows that folks are on the go when they're accessing our information, and having the information teed up in an easy to view manner is of supreme importance. So from there, the future of marketing. We've been working since the go live date with Go Outdoors North Carolina to start up marketing automation. It's already underway. That includes abandoned cart emails, happy birthday emails with incentives, meaning like discounts for merchandise within the e-store, along with onboarding campaigns that'll just be automatic. Almost like set it and forget it, but then tweak it to have new content each year. Our next steps are to gear up Google advertising with pay-per-click programs. And moving forward, you'll notice that we basically segment and our message development into two different types of campaigns: revenue generating and non-revenue generating. We've also launched product and license packages on the Go Outdoors North Carolina website, and we're currently analyzing the data to optimize those offerings. And we'll be looking into incorporating the magazine into some of those packages. As part of Go Live, I mentioned we launched a new e-commerce store. According to Brant, our agency's merchandise sales are outpacing all other participating Go Outdoor states with these e-stores. And I thought it was really interesting that 41 states have had product delivered to them. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Zimmerman.
No, thank you. That's awesome. I'm excited about that and excited to see all the content. I'm disappointed you left out the that frog Instagram. I think it was too recent, but there was for those who don't know, start following their social media. There was one about showing this female frog that plays dead when a male frog approaches it, and they retweeted it or sent and said, this might work for women, but I don't know. And it's just funny. It's great. And I just really enjoyed following your content and everything. So
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just got one quick
Hey,
comment.
Wes.
It was pointed out yesterday, we've got 90 some plus licenses that we offer. And a lot of times when you've got a particular species, it requires more than one license. We've seen it particularly down east when we're bear hunting, that people from out of state show up that have stopped off at Walmart or wherever and get what they need and they think they need, only to come up short when they get there at 9 o'clock that night and they're gonna start hunting in a matter of a few hours. So it's always a scramble to try to get it done. The thing I liked about, and the whole reason to bring that up, I talked to Fairleigh last week about this and the adaptability that we'll be able to come in there and say, and I don't know just how you're gonna do it, but what do you need to hunt bear? And it'll list what we need. Deer, what do you need if you're in state, out of state? In other words, it'll just be a quick reference that we can do.
Absolutely. After I got off the phone with you, I reached out to Brian Daniels and we developed the content and are posting it on the website, which explains at a very high level, if you're coming to do this specific activity, here's what you need. And so we'll have that resource, not as a PDF or a flipping book, but it will be content on the site. And then when we do these special editions and just our general newsletter, we will point folks to that information.
But the ability for their group to be able to get that out to provide a service to, those hunters. And actually there was an incident we heard about last night at dinner about some duck hunters who had no idea what they were doing. And, but it's the very same thing that we've got, especially some of these new hunters that are coming in and all of a sudden you say, oh, by the way, here's a menu of 90 licenses or requirements that you have. I mean, it can be a tad overwhelming, so.
Just a little bit.
And it's just a great opportunity for us to provide another service and their group ability to do it. So thank you for doing that.
Well, Wes, I can add to that a little bit. So for non-resident hunters coming in through the Go Outdoors system, we offer packages. So there's a bear package. So they click on the bear package and that's got everything they need to bear hunt, as well as there's, I do believe there's a duck hunting package for residents. But the beauty of the Go Outdoors system is we can customize a lot of those things and put them in packages to help ease the purchase, as well as providing information through all of our other communication outlets. So that was a little more difficult to do in the old system.
Oh, yeah.
And I did want to tack on to Sandy's presentation yesterday during the Education and Communications Committee. The website with this redesign that we're going to be looking at, if you consider the fact that the majority of our traffic to ncwildlife.org has dropped off with the creation of Go Outdoors North Carolina, because people are going and getting what they need to hunt or to fish or to register their vessel. The focus of our re-envisioned website through Digital Commons is going to be all about how you get started, what you do, and then once you have that skill set, how can you take it to the next level? So we'll be collaborating heavily with Wildlife Education to really get a lot of content to explain to folks and become that resource of, how do I get started squirrel hunting, deer hunting, fishing for specific species, and then all the way to how do I cook it? How do I process it? So just wanted to let you know that will be the focus of that site, and it'll be a destination that we can push people to.
Any further questions?
That's
I
amazing.
have a comment.
Yeah, Kelly.
I think if you have an experience to work with Fairleigh's team, or Lisa, they're smart, they're creative, that's obvious, and they're joyful to work with. So it's pleasant and inspiring, and I appreciate it.
We try to have a lot of fun.
They certainly do. So.
So,
It's
Anything
good
else?
subject matter, so.
Any further questions or comments? Fairly, fantastic. What you're doing, the job, the outreach, the changes, the adaptability. You piggyback on what Commissioner Davis just said is outstanding. Get a call from Commissioner Seegers like you did and respond like that. That's just phenomenal. And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for.
We can get the lights back on.
Since we ended 21st.
Okay, at this time, I will call on Ben Solomon to provide item from Land and Water Access Division. And as usual, we'll go through these presentations and then I'll ask for clarify a motion the second we need to, which exhibits needs to be approved. So Ben, floor is yours for this next item. And please note, I have taken a recusal on this vote.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Exhibit C is the Henson Lake Rotary Lodge. This is a lease renewal with the city of Rockingham and WRC. We would like to propose a lease term of 30 years and staff recommend approval of Exhibit C.
Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none at this time, I'll entertain a motion in a second. Motion for approval of Exhibit C. Got a motion from Barry, who's the second? Wes. Okay. Is there any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Exhibit C is approved. We'll now move forward with our rulemaking portion, and I'll call on Christian Waters, our Inland Fisheries Division Chief, remote to present permanent rulemaking notice of text for inland cycle fisheries rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bring your attention to Exhibit D1. As presented yesterday in the Committee of the Whole, is the request to notice rule text for 17 proposed rule changes for public comment and presentation at public hearing. Exhibit D2 is the associated physical note for these proposed changes. Staff recommends approval for Exhibit D1 and D2.
I'll entertain a motion for approval, adoption of exhibits D1 and D2 as recommended by staff. Move that from David Hall, who's second, Kelly Davis. Any further comments or questions, debate? Hearing none, all those in favor of adoptions of D1 and D2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adopted. Moving on, we'll go to Darren Barnes, our Land and Water Access Division Chief. Presentation of permanent rulemaking notice of text, annual cycle land and water access rules. Darren.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I'm bringing forth exhibit E1 and E2, E1 being the proposed rules for the 2024-2025 annual rule cycle. And exhibit E2 being the physical note associated with those rules. The only thing that I will reiterate since the committee of the whole is in exhibit E1 that has changed since yesterday. It used to be 9 proposals and we took out that proposal we talked about yesterday. So there's only 8 proposals moving forward. So at this time, Chairman, staff recommend these exhibit E1 and E2 for public notice, comment, and presentation at public hearing.
At this time, I'll entertain the motion to adoption approval of exhibits E1, E2 as recommended by staff. Is there a motion? A motion from Alexander. Is there a second? Second from Standback. With any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. E1 and E2 are adopted. Thank you, Darren. And this time I recognize Chris Cray. Permanent rulemaking notice of text 24-25 annual cycle wildlife management rules. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 10 proposals for rule changes that are for your consideration today. There are exhibits F1 and F2. Those 10 rules pertain to deer, bear, pheasants, feral swine, and several regulated activities. The rule text is in exhibit F1. The fiscal note is in exhibit F2, and staff recommends that those be approved for noticing those text for public comment period.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion and second for approval and adoptions of exhibits F1 and F2 as recommended by staff. A motion from Hall, second from anyone? Second where?
Commissioner Barry.
I'm Barry. Any further discussion, deliberations? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion to, is adopted for F1 and F2 approval. Moving forward, thank you, Chris. Moving forward, I'll call on Colonel Ben Meyer, to present permanent rulemaking notice of text, annual cycle, administrative rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time we just have one rule, exhibit G1, fiscal note, and G2 is for the Wildlife Poacher Reward Fund to include inland fisheries and non-game fish to be included in the reward eligible violations. It's our recommendation that for agency staff for public notice, comment, and presentation at public hearings.
This time I'll entertain a motion to adopt exhibits G1 and G2 as recommended by staff. A motion by Ruffin, second by Standback. Any further comments or questions? Hear none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion to adopt G1 and G2 passes. This time, thank you, Colonel. At this time, I'll recognize Melva Bonner to present. This is permanent rulemaking adoption of a chronic wasting disease rules. This is not notice of text. Just make a note of that, Melva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first rulemaking item on the agenda today is for the permanent adoption of the chronic wasting disease rules in 10B0500 chronic wasting disease management section, exhibits H1 and H2. At this time, staff recommends the permanent adoption of 10B0500 chronic wasting disease rules as presented at yesterday's committee of the whole.
This time I'll entertain a motion and a second to adoption of exhibit H2.
So moved. Second.
Seegers and Barry, motion and second. Any further comment and deliberation? Hearing none, all those in favor of adoption of H2 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries to adopt H2. Thank you, Melva. You will continue, please, with the permanent rulemaking notice of text on declaratory rulings, rules, and public fish and boating access area rules.
Okay, the second rulemaking item on the agenda today is to notice the rules in 10A 0500 declaratory ruling section, exhibit I. And then the third and final rulemaking item on the agenda today is to notice the rules of text for 10E 0100 boating, fishing and boating access areas. At this time, staff requests approval to notice 10A 0500 declaratory rulings and the 10A 0100 fishing and boating access area rules. And to post, to open a 60-day public comment period and to hold one public hearing as presented at the committee of the whole yesterday.
At this time, I would entertain a motion and accept and second for the adoption and approval of exhibits I, J1, and J2.
So moved.
Alexander, motion. We got a second from someone? Second from Hoyle. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adoption of the I, J1, and J2 signify by saying aye. Opposed? They're adopted. Thank you, Melva. This time we'll move forward with Betsy Haywood, our Water Safety Rules Coordinator. Present permanent rulemaking final adoption, Mecklenburg and Gaston counties.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Today we have, if you will turn to exhibit K2, final adoption of 15A NCAC 10F.0333 Lake Wiley Marine Commission, as discussed in the committee of the whole yesterday, October 25th. Staff recommends final adoption of rule amendments for the restricted area in a cove around a swim beach at the South Point access area in Gaston County and a no wake zone within 50 yards of the South Point boating access area.
This time I would entertain a motion a second for the approval and adoption of exhibit K2 as recommended by staff.
So moved.
Second. We got Foley and Barry. Got that? Any further comment, deliberation? Hear none, all those in favor of adoption of exhibit K2 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion is adopted. Exhibit K2 is approved. Okay, Betsy, if you'll do your technical corrections, rulemaking.
Thank you. Exhibit L today is a notice of text request for 15A NCAC 10F.0310A16 in Dare County. Staff recommends, as discussed yesterday in the Committee of the Whole, your approval to publish notice of text in the North Carolina Register with an open comment period and one public hearing to revise the rule at Mott's Creek at the Cape Hatteras National Seashore to correct a GPS coordinate that marks the no wake zone on the south shore of Mott's Creek.
This time I'll entertain a motion second for the adoption approval of Exhibit L as presented by staff.
So moved.
Got a motion from Zimmer, second by Alexander. Any further discussion, deliberation? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Exhibit L is adopted. At this
Thank you.
time, moving on the agenda, I'll call on recognized Director Ingram to present the 2024 Wildlife Resources Commission meeting schedule. Commissioner Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we reviewed yesterday, the draft schedule and Exhibit M would includes our meetings for the 2024 commission meetings. And they're all again on Thursdays and contained in Exhibit M, and staff recommends approval of these dates in Exhibit E.
All those in favor of the adoption of Exhibit M, which is our meeting dates for 2024, signify by saying aye.
Mr.
Oh.
Chairman, Need a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Got ahead of myself. Got a motion from Hoyle. Who got a second from? Thank you for reminding me of that. All those in favor of the motion now signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh. Okay, now we'll move for comments to the chairman. I just got two things very briefly. October 6th, we held a very nice occasion down at Samarkand, the groundbreaking for a new law enforcement training center. It was a great day. Several commissioners were able to make it. I know it was late notice, but several commissioners had not been there, got a chance to take a tour. But this is truly a legacy event, action on behalf of this commission and the Wildlife Commission. We got a great relationship with the folks at Samarkand, and this will serve the Wildlife Commission for decades. And I appreciate the support and the efforts of our staff to get to this point, and the support of the commission. We started looking at this project in 2019, and we're breaking ground now. And I think that was about as quick as we get it done. And I'll just thank you to all y'all. Hats off to everybody. Also, this past weekend, Saturday night, I was asked to come out and make remarks at our field trials in Hoffman. Had the Carolina Jamboree there. Just to tell you what a diamond that is, a jewel for the Wildlife Commission. This was a large event that encouraged youth participation. It was a event attended basically nationwide. I talked to folks from Montana, from Oklahoma, from Connecticut, Virginia, Georgia, and I'm sure I left some other places that came here. I ate with a guy that had flown in from Bozeman, Montana, and he said it was a bucket list of his to come to the field trials in Hoffman, North Carolina, that the North Carolina Resources Commission does. The guy from Oklahoma had trailered 6 horses and 15 dogs from Oklahoma to this event. That's the kind of draw that this facility does from October to April. Tom, several of you all have been down there. It's a true gem. And the most common theme I heard from everybody from all these other states was this was the premier field trial event in the United States. There was nowhere else compared and how appreciative they were of the Wildlife Commission and what this does for the advancement of our shooting sports and our dog sports and horses. And it's just a tremendous event. And I wanted to share that with you and relate to you the comments I got from all these folks and how they felt about that facility. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so a lot of my comments in the past 3 years and at the end of these meetings has revolved around thanking folks and discussing our agency and my priorities as executive director. But as the legislature concludes this year, I really want to break and say thank you to staff, and to Ashton, leading the charge as our legislative liaison, wherever Ashton is. He may be working on something else right now in the legislature, but and to the members of the legislature, to the members of the governor's office who has supported us. And lastly, but most importantly, thank each of you for your support. And we've made so many accomplishments in this legislative session. But the one that I often highlight that I'm so proud of as I reflect back on when I started employment with this agency and put the uniform on in 1997, when Wes Siegers joined this table, or different table maybe back then, but anyway, this is a monumental year. This is a historical year that we're celebrating with the passing of the budget and 45 years since we've added officers to the state of North Carolina. 45 years. I was in first grade carrying a metal lunchbox with peanut butter and jelly sandwich in it. This is the last time that we've added an officer to our staff. Thank you so much for everyone that engaged in assisting with this. We have been talking about this since I put the uniform on in 97 and many people before us. So I wanted to thank each and every one of you. The chairman at our discussions every single day, really for the past 3 years, and many of you that are sitting at this table that as we talked about many years. So thank each and every one of you. We are in the process now of getting those counties highlighted. We've got the counties that we know that we want to put officers in, and we're going to advertise those and get those filled ASAP to support our efforts in the field. So thank each and every one of you for everything.
For your leadership as well. Any further comments from any of the commissioners, items of business? Hear none, meeting adjourned.